Leadership isn't about a title. It's not about the position you hold or the authority you think you have. A true leader, they don't need a nameplate on a door. They don't need a fancy introduction. The moment they walk into a room, you feel their presence. They inspire, they command respect, not through force, but through the undeniable energy of who they are. You see, leadership is about one thing: impact. It's about what you do when no one is watching. It's about how you show up when everything is crumbling around you. Anyone can lead when times are easy, but a great leader rises when the pressure is on, when the storm is raging, when everyone else is looking for a way out. A great leader finds the way through. A great leader takes extreme ownership. No blaming, no pointing fingers, no excuses. Because the moment you shift responsibility, you give away your power. You don't get to control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. The best leaders, they take it all on their shoulders. They own the mistakes. They own the failures. And because of that, they also own the victories. A great leader builds a vision so powerful that people can't help but believe in it. Not a dream, not a wish. A vision so clear that others can already see it happening. And that vision, it has to be bigger than just you. It has to be something that ignites the fire inside others. People don't follow leaders because of what they say. They follow because of how they make them feel. Because a true leader paints a future so bright, so electrifying, so undeniable that others will move mountains to make it real. But here's the truth. You can't lead people if you don't understand people. A great leader doesn't just bark orders. They don't just dictate. They connect. They see people for who they really are. They understand what drives them, what scares them, what fuels their fire. They master emotional intelligence, the ability to influence, inspire, and empower others at their core. Leadership isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the one who listens the hardest. And finally, a great leader demands relentless growth, not just from others, but from themselves. They never settle. They never stop learning, evolving, pushing their limits. They don't just talk about getting better, they live it, they lead by example. Because at the end of the day, leadership isn't about words, it's about action. So ask yourself, are you just managing or are you leading? Because the world doesn't need more people who play it safe. The world doesn't need more bosses. The world needs leaders, people who show up, take ownership, inspire vision, connect deeply, and demand the best from themselves and everyone around them. And if that's you, then it's time to rise. A leader isn't defined by their title, their authority, or the position they hold. A true leader is the one who steps up when everything is falling apart. They are the ones who take full responsibility, not just for their successes, but for every failure, every setback, and every challenge along the way. They don't wait for someone else to fix the problem. They don't point fingers. They own everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because ownership isn't just about taking credit when things go right. It's about stepping forward and saying, this is on me, even when it's not entirely their fault. Think about the greatest leaders in history, the ones who changed the course of nations, built empires, and transformed the world. What set them apart wasn't luck. It wasn't talent alone. It was the unshakable mindset that said, I will find a way no matter what. They didn't blame circumstances. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They took control of what they could, adapted to what they couldn't, and moved forward with absolute conviction. Imagine you're leading a team on a high-stakes project. The deadline is closing in, the pressure is mounting, and suddenly everything starts going wrong. Someone missed a key detail, a mistake was made, chaos erupts. Most people in that situation would do what? They would start looking for who to blame. They would cover their tracks, point fingers, and try to shift responsibility to someone else. That's what most people do, but not a great leader. A great leader steps up and says, this is on me, not because they personally made the mistake, but because everything under their leadership is ultimately their responsibility. When you adopt this mindset, something incredible happens. You stop feeling powerless. You stop waiting for someone else to fix things. You take control. And the moment you take control, you regain the power to change the outcome. Think about a time in your own life when things didn't go as planned. Maybe you lost an opportunity, failed at something important, or faced a major setback. What was your first reaction? Did you blame the economy, your upbringing, your boss, the people around you? It's easy to blame external factors, to convince yourself that life is unfair, but blaming gives away your power. The moment you blame something outside yourself, you surrender control. And if you have no control, you can't change anything. That's why extreme ownership is so powerful. The second you say, this is my responsibility, you take back your ability to change your circumstances. There's a story about a Navy SEAL commander who was leading his team through a brutal training exercise. Midway through the operation, things went terribly wrong. The team got confused, their strategy fell apart, and the mission was a disaster. Afterward, his commanding officers wanted answers. They wanted to know who made the mistake. Instead of calling out individual team members, the commander did something unexpected. He stood up and said, "It was my fault. I didn't communicate clearly. I didn't prepare my team well enough. I take full responsibility." Now, think about that for a second. Most people would have said, well, my team messed up. They should have been more focused. But this leader, he took it all on himself. And you know what happened next? His team didn't lose respect for him. They didn't see him as weak. In fact, the opposite happened. They trusted him more. They became even more committed, because a leader who takes responsibility creates a culture of accountability. When a leader owns everything, their team starts to do the same. That's the secret. People don't follow leaders who make excuses. People follow those who take charge, who admit when they're wrong, and who refuse to let failure define them. If you want to be a great leader, you must be willing to look in the mirror and ask, what could I have done better? Even when the failure wasn't directly your fault, you take responsibility for how you respond, for how you adjust, for how you rise. This mindset isn't just for CEOs, military leaders, or entrepreneurs. It applies to every area of life. If your finances are a mess, take ownership. Don't blame the economy. Don't blame your boss. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to change this? If your relationships are struggling, don't point fingers. Take a hard look at how you show up. Own your actions, own your growth. If your health isn't where you want it to be, don't make excuses. Own your decisions, your discipline, your commitment. Because the reality is this, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you success. The moment you decide to own your life completely, without excuses, is the moment everything changes. It's easy to admire successful people and think they had it easier than you. But if you dig deeper, you'll realize that the most successful people in the world weren't given a perfect path. They struggled, they failed, they hit rock bottom, but what separated them from everyone else was their mindset. They refused to be victims of their circumstances. They took full control of their future. Extreme ownership is about shifting from a passive observer of life to an active participant. It's about saying, no matter what happens, I am responsible for what comes next. That doesn't mean bad things won't happen. That doesn't mean you won't face setbacks. But it means you stop waiting for something to change, and instead you become the one who makes the change. There's a powerful moment that happens when someone embraces extreme ownership. It's the moment they stop saying, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly problems become challenges to overcome. Obstacles become stepping stones. And failure, it becomes a lesson, a stepping stone towards something greater. Great leaders don't run from responsibility, they run toward it. They know that real power doesn't come from blaming, complaining, or waiting. It comes from stepping up, taking control, and making things happen. The world is full of people who are waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for permission, waiting for someone else to take charge. But the people who win, the people who lead, are the ones who decide to own their results, decide to own their failures, decide to own their future. So ask yourself right now, are you ready to take full ownership of your life? Because the moment you do, you step into a level of leadership that few ever reach. And when you do that, when you stop making excuses and start making decisions, you don't just change your own life. You inspire everyone around you to do the same. A great leader is not just someone who manages people or makes decisions. A great leader is a visionary, someone who sees a future so vivid, so compelling, so electrifying, that others can't help but believe in it too. They don't just set goals, they paint a picture of what is possible, a picture so clear, so powerful that it pulls people in, fuels their passion, and ignites a fire within them that refuses to be extinguished. Think about the most influential leaders in history. The ones who changed the world didn't just follow trends, they created them. They didn't just talk about ideas, they breathed life into them. They saw a future that no one else could see, and they were so unshakably certain about it that their belief became contagious. People followed them, not because they had to, but because they wanted to, because they could feel the energy, they could see the vision. They became part of something bigger than themselves. It all starts with a leader's ability to dream boldly. But a dream alone is not enough. A dream without conviction is just a wish. A true leader doesn't just wish for things to be better, they make it happen. They don't just say, this could be done, they say, this will be done. There's a force behind their words, an intensity in their actions that makes people stop and take notice. Imagine walking into a room where someone is speaking about an idea they believe in with every fiber of their being. Their eyes light up, their voice carries power, there is no hesitation, no doubt, only certainty. You don't just hear their words, you feel them. That's the kind of leadership that moves people. That's the kind of vision that transforms lives. A leader's vision isn't about small incremental improvements. It's about massive, game-changing transformation. People don't rally behind mediocrity. They don't get excited about something that feels ordinary. But when a leader presents a vision that is bold, daring, almost impossible, that's when something shifts. That's when people lean in. That's when they decide, I want to be part of this. Great leaders don't just tell people where to go, they make them see it. They describe the future in a way that makes it real before it even exists. They don't just say we're going to build a company. They say we're going to build something the world has never seen before. We're going to change an industry. We're going to create something so extraordinary that people will wonder how they ever lived without it. That level of clarity, that level of certainty, that's what draws people in. But a vision isn't just about words. It has to be felt. It has to be lived. A great leader embodies their vision in everything they do. They don't just talk about hard work. They are the first ones in and the last ones out. They don't just speak about innovation, they push boundaries every single day. They don't just demand excellence from others, they hold themselves to the highest standard first. When a leader is fully committed to their vision, they create an unstoppable momentum. Others start to believe because they see the conviction in action. It's not forced, it's not manipulated, it's genuine. And people follow authenticity. They follow those who believe so deeply that hesitation is not even an option. But here's the thing. A great vision must withstand resistance. The bigger the vision, the more obstacles will appear. People will doubt, they will criticize, they will say that's impossible. But a great leader does not crumble under doubt. They do not fold when the world tells them it can't be done. They stand taller. They become even more relentless because they know something that others don't. They know that every breakthrough in history was once considered impossible. Think about the greatest innovations, the most groundbreaking movements, the revolutions that shaped the world. They all started with a single person who refused to accept reality as it was. They saw beyond what existed. They created something that didn't yet exist. And because they refused to let doubt win, they changed everything. A great leader doesn't need permission to believe. They don't wait for validation. They don't look around to see if others agree. They declare their vision with unwavering confidence, and in doing so, they make others believe too. Because belief is powerful. Belief creates movement. Belief turns ideas into action, and action into reality. But vision alone is not enough. A great leader doesn't just inspire, they execute. They take their vision and break it down into steps. They create momentum. They bring people with them. They make others feel like they are part of something important, meaningful, life-changing. They make people realize that their work is not just a task, it's a mission. And when people feel like they are part of something greater than themselves, they go all in, they work harder, they push further, they refuse to settle for anything less than excellence. Because they see what the leader sees, they feel what the leader feels, they become unstoppable. The world doesn't need more leaders who play it safe. The world doesn't need more people who follow the rules and color inside the lines. The world needs visionaries, leaders who dare to dream bigger than what seems reasonable, leaders who are so unshakable in their belief that others can't help but believe too. The question is, are you that kind of leader? Do you have a vision so powerful that it shakes people to their core? Do you have a dream so big that it scares you but excites you even more? Do you have the courage to declare it, live it, fight for it, no matter what stands in your way? Because when you commit to a vision that is so compelling, so undeniable, so powerful, the world has no choice but to pay attention. And once that happens, nothing can stop you. A great leader isn't just someone who gives orders, makes decisions, or sets strategies. A great leader is someone who understands people at their core. They don't just see employees, followers, or team members. They see human beings, individuals with emotions, fears, dreams, and desires. They know that leadership isn't just about logic and execution, it's about connection. Because no matter how brilliant a plan is, no matter how bold a vision may be, people will only follow someone they trust, respect, and feel understood by. That's why emotional intelligence is the secret weapon of every truly powerful leader. It's the ability to walk into a room and immediately sense the energy, to know when someone is struggling without them even saying a word, to inspire people, not by force, but by making them feel seen, heard, and valued. A leader who masters emotional intelligence doesn't manipulate people, they empower them. They don't control through fear, they lead through influence. And that's why people want to follow them, not because they have to, but because they feel compelled to. Think about the greatest leaders in history, the ones who built empires, led revolutions, and changed the world, didn't do it alone. They weren't successful because they were the smartest person in the room. They were successful because they knew how to bring out the best in others. They understood how to make people feel important. They knew that when people feel like they matter, they give more, do more, become more. A leader with emotional intelligence listens, not just with their ears, but with their full attention. When someone speaks, they don't just hear the words, they pick up on what's not being said. They notice the hesitation, the frustration, the hidden struggle, and instead of brushing it off or demanding results anyway, they lean in, they ask what's going on, they show that they care, and that's what changes everything. Because here's the truth, people don't work for companies, people work for people. They don't give their best effort because of a paycheck alone. They give their best effort when they feel a genuine connection to their leader, when they feel understood, when they feel like their voice matters, when they know that the person leading them actually cares, not just about the work they do, but about who they are. A leader with emotional intelligence isn't reactive. They don't explode in anger when things go wrong. They don't lash out when the pressure is on. Instead, they stay calm, collected, in control. Not because they don't feel emotions, but because they master them. They understand that in every moment, they set the tone. If they panic, their team panics. If they lose control, everything falls apart. But if they stay strong, if they stay composed, if they lead with confidence and clarity, others will follow. Imagine you're working under two different types of leaders. One is unpredictable. One day they're calm. The next day they're exploding over the smallest mistake. You never know what to expect. You're constantly on edge, walking on eggshells, afraid of doing something wrong. Now imagine the second leader, someone who is steady, consistent, emotionally aware, someone who knows how to handle conflict without creating chaos, someone who lifts people up instead of breaking them down. Who would you rather follow? Who would you give your absolute best to? The answer is obvious. The best leaders don't demand respect. They earn it by the way they treat people, by the way they communicate, by the way they handle challenges with grace and strength. They don't let their emotions control them, they control their emotions. And because of that, they become a source of stability in a world full of uncertainty. A great leader also understands that people are driven by emotions, not just logic. If you want someone to take action, you don't just give them information, you make them feel something. You inspire them, you ignite their passion, you make them see the impact of their work, the meaning behind what they do. Because when people are emotionally connected to a mission, they give more than just their time, they give their heart. And emotional intelligence isn't just about managing others, it's about managing yourself. A great leader knows their own triggers. They recognize when frustration is rising, when stress is building, when fear is creeping in. And instead of letting those emotions control them, they take a step back, they breathe, they ask themselves, how do I want to respond right now? How can I lead in a way that lifts others up instead of tearing them down? They also know how to balance strength with empathy. Being emotionally intelligent doesn't mean being soft. It doesn't mean avoiding tough conversations or making everyone happy all the time. A great leader still holds people accountable. They still expect excellence, but they do it in a way that makes people want to rise to the challenge. Instead of tearing people down, they build them up. Instead of criticizing, they coach. Instead of demanding, they inspire. That's why teams led by emotionally intelligent leaders thrive. People feel safe to speak up, to take risks, to grow. They know their leader has their back. They know they won't be humiliated for making a mistake. They know that their success matters not just for the company, but for them as individuals. And when people feel that, they give everything they have. They push harder. They go further. The world is full of people trying to lead through fear, through authority, through dominance. But the leaders who truly win, the ones who leave a legacy, are the ones who lead through connection, influence, and emotional mastery. Because at the end of the day, leadership isn't about power, it's about people. It's about understanding human nature so deeply that you don't just lead with your mind, you lead with your heart. And when you do that, you don't just create success, you create greatness. A great leader never stays the same. They never settle. They never stop pushing, stretching, evolving into something greater, because the moment you stop growing is the moment you start dying. The best leaders don't wait for change to happen. They create it. They refuse to stay comfortable because they know comfort is the enemy of progress. They live by one unshakable truth. If you're not growing, you're falling behind. The world is moving fast. Everything is shifting. Industries are changing, and the people who lead at the highest level understand that growth is not optional. It's a requirement. They don't make excuses. They don't say, I've learned enough. They wake up every day hungry to be better than they were yesterday because they know that the only real competition is the person in the mirror. A leader who demands relentless growth is not afraid to be uncomfortable. They don't fear failure because they know failure is part of the process. They don't shrink when things get hard. They double down. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to become stronger, smarter, more prepared for what's next? They take every challenge, every setback, every obstacle, and they turn it into fuel. And here's what separates a great leader from everyone else. They don't just grow for themselves. They bring others along for the journey. They create an environment where growth is the standard, where people are constantly being pushed beyond their limits, where the mindset of good enough does not exist, because when you demand growth from yourself, you inspire others to do the same. Think about the most successful people in the world. They are not the ones who had the perfect plan from day one. They are the ones who adapted. They are the ones who kept learning, improving, and leveling up while everyone else stayed the same. They understood that mastery is not about reaching the top and stopping. It's about continuously raising the bar, breaking through plateaus, and becoming a new version of yourself over and over again. A great leader is obsessed with personal development. They read, they listen, they study, they seek out mentors, they surround themselves with people who challenge them. They are constantly looking for ways to sharpen their minds, strengthen their skills, and elevate their thinking, because they know that leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about being the kind of person who is always searching for better answers. They also understand that growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intentional action. It happens through the small, consistent choices that most people ignore. Waking up earlier to invest in themselves, taking on challenges that force them to level up, asking the hard questions, looking in the mirror and saying, where am I holding myself back? What do I need to change? How do I get to the next level? But here's the truth. Growth is painful. It requires sacrifice. It means giving up old habits, breaking through limiting beliefs, and doing the things that most people are too afraid to do. And this is where most people stop. They say they want to grow, but when it gets uncomfortable, when it gets difficult, they quit. They go back to what's easy, what's familiar, what feels safe. A great leader does the opposite. They lean into the discomfort. They embrace the pain of growth because they know on the other side of struggle is strength. They don't complain when things get tough. They don't run when adversity hits. They embrace the challenge because they know that every battle, every test, every storm is shaping them into the leader they were meant to be. And because they refuse to settle, they create a culture where no one around them settles either. Their presence alone raises the standard. People don't slack off when they're around. They don't stay in the same place for too long. They push harder, think bigger, and expect more from themselves, not because they're forced to, but because they are inspired to. A great leader doesn't let people stay small. They don't allow mediocrity to thrive. They challenge, push, and elevate everyone around them. They create an energy where growth is not just encouraged, it's demanded, and people rise to that energy. They grow because they are surrounded by someone who believes in their potential even more than they do. Think about the most impactful leaders in your life, the ones who truly made a difference, the ones who changed the way you saw yourself. Were they the ones who let you coast, who accepted your excuses, who allowed you to stay in your comfort zone? No. They were the ones who saw something in you that you didn't even see in yourself. They pushed you. They expected more from you. They forced you to level up. And because of that, you became better. That's the kind of leader the world needs. Not just someone who grows for themselves, but someone who lifts others up in the process. Someone who sets a fire in people, who makes them believe they are capable of more, who shows them what's possible if they refuse to settle. And the best part, growth is never over. There is always another level, there is always another challenge, there is always another breakthrough waiting for you if you are willing to chase it. So the question is, are you willing? Are you willing to embrace the discomfort, to demand more from yourself, to step into the next version of who you are meant to be? Are you willing to stop playing small, to stop making excuses, to relentlessly pursue the highest level of yourself? Because if you are, if you commit to the journey of never-ending growth, not only will you transform your own life, but you will change the lives of everyone around you. The world does not reward those who stay the same. It rewards those who dare to evolve, those who refuse to stay in the shadows of who they used to be. Growth is not a luxury, it is a necessity. If you are not growing, you are rotting. If you are not moving forward, you are falling behind. And a true leader demands relentless growth, not just from themselves, but from everyone they touch. Because leadership is not about standing still. It is not about maintaining the status quo. It is about setting the world on fire with your vision, your discipline, your obsession to become better every single day. A great leader doesn't just chase success, they chase greatness. They don't just aim to be good, they demand to be legendary. And make no mistake, the road to greatness is paved with pain. It's paved with sleepless nights, with failures, with moments where you feel like you can't go on. It's paved with sacrifice, with giving up the distractions, the doubts, the excuses that keep most people stuck. But that's the price, that's the cost. And the only question that matters is, are you willing to pay it? Because the truth is, most people aren't. Most people want the glory without the grind. They want the rewards without the work. They want the title of a leader, but not the responsibility that comes with it. And that is why most people never make it. That is why most people stay trapped in mediocrity, because they are too afraid to demand more from themselves. But that's not you. If you are here, if you are listening to these words, then there is something inside you that refuses to settle. There is something inside you that knows you are meant for more. There is a fire in you, a fire that refuses to be put out, a hunger that refuses to be satisfied, a voice that keeps whispering, you are not done yet. So what will you do with it? Will you ignore it? Will you push it down like so many others do? Or will you rise? Will you take that fire and let it consume everything that is weak, everything that is holding you back? Will you burn away the doubt, the fear, the hesitation, and step into the leader you were born to be? Because make no mistake, leadership is not given, it is taken. It is forged in the fires of relentless growth. It is earned in the moments when no one is watching, when the cameras are off, when you're standing alone with nothing but your willpower. And that is the test. That is where legends are born. Every great leader you admire, every icon who changed the world, every name that echoes through history, they made a choice to be different, a choice to push harder, a choice to become someone they had never been before. And now it's your turn. So no more excuses, no more waiting for the perfect moment, no more playing small. If you want to lead, then rise. If you want to be great, then grow. If you want to leave a legacy, then evolve into the person capable of creating it. Because at the end of the day, the only limits that exist are the ones you refuse to break. And when you demand relentless growth, when you refuse to stay the same, you don't just change yourself, you change the world.